folks. Zach Elliott, feel free to argue. I'm doing kind of a lazy video here. I'm just going to read you a couple of letters. Two reasons. I'm always impressed by the intelligence of people who aren't actually in public office, and their ability to make sense of situations. And so these were both letters that were written in response to a good Paul Krugman article. I'll link to that as well, but that wasn't kind of as compelling to me as a couple of the letters that were written in response to it. So here goes. The first one is a guy called John, I don't know how to pronounce this, Jazwiak. I am a CEO and someone who makes a lot of money. If you're going to lead a company, there's no substitute for strong leadership. Part of being a strong leader is to take risks. There's an old saying that there can be no breakthrough without a breakup. Unless a leader is willing to stand up for the long run, call a competitor's bluff, live with the short-term pain of the breakup, and be confident that taking a hard-line stand will eventually lead to a breakthrough, they will never last in the top job. As a high wealth earner, I have 3 points I would like to make to Washington. One is that after my first $250,000, I just invest in money, my money into banks. While that may be good for banks, it does nothing for the economy's ability to create a multiplying effect because I am not going to spend the additional money on consumption. The second is that I would gladly have my marginal tax rates be higher so that 99% of the Americans with only 75% of the nation's wealth can prosper. I'm not saying I academically believe in progressive taxation. I am saying that I can't make more money if there is no thriving middle class to buy the things I make. Finally, I am anti-government spending. More to the point, I am against throwing too much money into too many pots. What I want is a national government to set strategic goals and make a small amount of infrastructure investment bets that will eventually lead to long-term growth. The mythology of free enterprise alone leading to national wealth growth is an urban legend. The Erie Canal that connected the Atlantic Ocean to the Great Lakes turned Manhattan from an island port to the world's financial center. No canal, no skyscrapers, no free enterprise. The same can be said by the North building a railway system and telegraph system that defeated the South, kept the Union intact, and was used by free enterprise to productively exploit Western expansion. FHA and the GI Bill provided free enterprise with an unprecedented, educated middle class to exploit. The National Interstate Highway was built despite the national debt being 60% of GDP, allowed suburban expansion and better supply chains. Finally, the Apollo program led to many inventions we use today. Most impressive, though, was the inspiration of a generation to become engineers and become the world's greatest inventor. In each case came targeted government investment and then free enterprise and wealth creation for everyone. Today, all we are doing is arguing about how a fixed amount of wealth should be distributed, instead of targeted investment for long-term wealth creation. The next big thing is a world-class infrastructure and green jobs. A nation like China has the political will to win this race in a flat world, while the U.S. is still fighting 20th century battles. Until everyone understands that 1% of us have 24% of the nation's wealth and are not going to spend it, until everyone understands that wealthy people have a vested interest in a vibrant middle class and is more than happy to pay higher taxes to achieve it, and until we realize we need a federal government to be the chief national investor instead of the chief national spender, Rome will continue to burn. So that's the kind of conservative thinking that I can respect. Don't agree with him about everything, but I mean, those were some really good points. But here, I also wanted to read this letter because this gets at the emotional core of what's happening right now, especially with the unemployment benefits threatening to run out. And Paul Krugman argued in his article that Obama should be willing to let them run out because he has to call the Republicans bluff at some point or another, or he's just going to be the capitulator in chief and they'll know it. But here's a response to that. Paul, as one of the prisoners being held in this insidious hostage exchange, out of work 21 months now, my next unemployment extension delayed indefinitely by a president and a Congress without a heart, and at Christmas time of all times, I'm definitely of two minds, albeit very reluctantly. Were I not one of the ones out of work, I would say flat out that Obama and company should reject the Republican tax cut proposals. And rationally, I know you and the CBO are right. But these are not rational times, and these are not rational people we're dealing with. There are a couple million of us who lost our job through no faults of our own, have been truly trying to find a decent job to no avail. I lost count at 170 resumes, and really don't see a way out at the moment except to continue the benefits in the hope a job comes along before the money runs out for good. And we need whatever tenuous thread that remains of what had been a safety net. So, what to do? Do I choose against ourselves in one form or against ourselves in another form? I didn't hold much faith in Obama when I voted for him. My general feelings with presidential elections are the lesser of two evils, and 300 million people, and these are the best we could do. But I certainly didn't expect him to cede all ground to the other party, to be the great capitulator, and to cavalierly toss aside the millions of people to whom he had the audacity to give hope for someone better at the top. Sometimes I get the feeling, justifiably, that Obama and the Republicans are all playing on the same side. Maybe he'll surprise us. Maybe, Virginia, there will be a Santa Claus. Then again, that might just be one more wasted hope atop the pile of false hopes at this point. Again, what to do? So, I encourage everybody to remember that these aren't just political positions that we're talking about. There are ramifications for real people, including decent people that you probably know, and you just don't know how shitty their lives are right now. It's been Zach Elliott, and you can always feel free to argue.